Yeah, I don't see any sign anyone can hear us. Yep, I am now seeing this. Always amused when I post on the Green Ronin Facebook ThursdAGE post and it says, top fan. Yeah, okay, fair. Or do you say? Maybe they should do a show. Oh no. Did you see someone on Twitter decided to try and make Owen magazine covers? Oh, it was a day or two ago. Let me see if I can find one. They were just... People do silly stuff. And then I mentioned that if I had a magazine, all I needed now is a cereal, and someone suggested there were O&Os, and I'm not sure I want to know what flavor O&Os are. That seemed... Yeah, so it was a Game Raccoon on Twitter that's at who tweeted this. I will send you via the super secret Slack the magazine image they came up with. I'm not sure I would say it's my best look, but on the other hand, someone decided to make a magazine with my face on it. So, although they're only charging $1 copper, so it's a penny from my thoughts.
Sort of looks like an alt weekly.
I think they were going for a very early life magazine.
So hear me a little bit as we play around with some of our stuff. We were just talking
Nicole
about...
says they can hear me. I'm not sure they can hear you.
I think we've got it.
This week, Stan, will be both disembodied and disinvoiced.
And perhaps
Well, that's your call, man.
Talking.
Says we can hear Troy now.
Nice. That's happy making.
We're only 10 minutes past our lunchtime.
Oh, hush. We're early.
That's also known as creator on time.
Right. That's exactly right. Okay, well, Owen, this has been a lot of fun, but I think we better start the show.
Fine. So the difference is whether it's the show or not the show is whether they have to look at me as opposed to all the amazing art our fans have made.
Right? Absolutely. This looks a little crooked, but that's okay. Who cares? Hey, Owen.
Hey, Troy.
Can you see yourself? Can you see your beautiful overlay?
Yes, I can see the beautiful
overlay.
It's a
little off, but you know what? So are we. And we spent a little time before the stream. You know what we did, friends? Aside from waiting to hear if you can hear us.
Which I'm told they can.
Excellent. Enough of that music. we are planned out for what, almost 2 months?
Month and a half, maybe.
Right? That's amazing.
And the plans are a little on the wibbly wobbly side, because some of them are like, hey, let's talk about a product we hope to launch. But if it doesn't launch, we probably won't talk about it that week. But
it is, you know, in the world of the age, you know, the adventure game engine, which supports quite a few products of ours. It's a fluid. It's you got to kind of move. You got to react with it.
Well, and I'm not sure people really understand how world events can impact whether or not you get your book of imaginary elf muffin bows on time.
I'm sorry, elf muffins?
Yeah, elf muffin bows. That is an elven bow that fires muffins.
Oh, yum.
That was the precursor to Lembus. So before they had travel bread, they had muffin bows, so that you could have a single person near the supply who would shoot muffins at people in battle so they could eat. It didn't work well. That's why they went to Lembus. But before that, you had elven muffin bows. It's second age stuff. We might see it on the Amazon show.
Yummy. I'm here for it.
You've got this weird thing where, like, okay, so we want to ship this from the printer to the warehouse. Well, that requires containers. Well, there's a worldwide shortage on containers. Why is there a worldwide shortage on containers? Well, COVID has some people not going into work at docks. Okay, well then why don't they just make more containers? Well, because there are people available at the factories and the price of steel is going up. Why is the price of steel going up? Well, so this boat got stuck in the Suez Canal, and there could just be this ridiculous cascade where, like, we just want to give people funny shaped dice.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, I remember a specific product for a different game company, not a Green Ronin product. This was a few years ago, where it got delayed in writing and delayed in editing, and the art was delayed, and the production was delayed, and then it had missed its scheduled time at the printer, and finally it was put on a boat and it was shipped to the warehouse, where for some reason it got confiscated at the warehouse in the US, and we never found out why. It just sat there for weeks, and we were like, well, we promised people they could have this book about, you know, dwarves with Scottish accents, and no, nothing.
Weird.
For weeks and weeks. And then eventually they said, okay, it's clear now. And well, this is an industry where the Treasury Department, Secret Service, once confiscated computers of Steve Jackson because they thought GURPS Cyberpunk was going to be an actual manual on hacking.
You know, what's interesting is, and that was when we stopped importing cocaine.
Well, I mean, the trick is to stop just before your stuff gets confiscated.
That's true. So, yeah. It was a very short-lived import-export thing. But yeah, so listen, you know what we didn't do is say, hey, everybody, welcome to ThursdAGE. This is our weekly live stream, and it's all about Fantasy Age, and it's all about our fantasy friend, Owen KC Stephens, who is the nicest guy in the biz, verified, validated. I've triple checked it against the records. It is indeed a fact.
I keep wanting to complain about that, but I don't want to be a pain. So you got my box.
I rest my case. I want to complain about it, but I don't want to cause any trouble. No, dare I open this Pandamon's box, as it were?
Sure. Open her up.
Well, why do you want to complain about it? Because you
I don't feel like the nicest person in gaming to me at all. I know so many wonderful people, and so I have this thing where I am aware of what I am thinking and what my actual motivations are and what I'm tempted to do, and I have this rigid set of rules in place to make sure I don't turn into a raging a-hole. that I try to be guided by, but that's not nice. That's pragmatism, right? I recently sent in an order for gaming paper, and because the owner of gaming paper, Eric Bauer, nice guy, great product, likes me, he sent me a bunch of stuff. And so I did a unboxing video for it, and I put up pictures on Twitter and Facebook about projects I made for it. And several people said, "Oh, that's nice." That's not nice. That's cold, hard pragmatism. If someone sends me free stuff, and then I say, "Ooh, look at all this free stuff they sent me," then that person goes, "Oh, sending Owen free stuff got me advertising. I should send him more free stuff." And other people go, "Oh, Owen got this free stuff, and he's talking about it. Maybe we should send him free stuff." And people are misinterpreting this cold, calculating move on my part as nice. It's not nice. I'm a cruel tyrant of opinion that is doing my very best to trick people into believing I am nice for my own benefit.
Sir, I, with all the love, and I do mean all of the love. I mean, a good portion of the love.
Not all of it.
Not all of it.
Gotta save some for chocolate and pizza.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Hogwash. You are literally professing to be an evil person because you enjoy the being exposed to the creative works of people who enjoy your presence, and you do it out of sheer, I want to enjoy a thing and share it with the world. Come on.
I've just analyzed the pros and cons of various kinds of behaviors and find that the benefit of the doubt is more powerful than people trembling in fear. That's it.
All I'm saying is, right, Alex Thomas says, how dare you be nuanced, Owen? I love it.
No. We don't do nuance on the internet. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Ham-handed all the way, broad strokes, and only all caps, exclamation points. Brian says, after being released from customs, then it was destroyed in a warehouse fire. Yes, it was.
No, that product actually hit the streets. It just hit it way later than A, anyone wanted it to, or B, later than the market conditions that made it a good idea when it was launched, which is another tricky thing about print hardback books. I have on my blog a blog entry called "Why Didn't the Company Do the Thing?" Which is just my generic response anytime any fan who is not connected to market realities or budgets or limitations of staff or burnout or IP law, trademarks, copyrights, anytime they say, "Ooh, why doesn't this company," just as a random example, why doesn't Rogue Genius Games, I don't want to get anyone else in trouble, why doesn't Rogue Genius Games release a role-playing game based on MechWarrior? And I'm like, well, because we can't. And even if we could, legally, we don't have the resources. So it's why didn't the company do the thing? And one of the reasons sometimes is some products only make sense if you strike while the iron is hot, and you don't know how long the iron's going to stay hot, but you sure as heck know how long it's going to take to strike. And if you're thinking, this is cool right now, but if we start right now, we can have a product out in 9 to 12 months, will it be cool then? Right? Like you don't want to start doing a Bernie Sanders in Mittens role-playing game as a 300-page hardback, because no one will remember that by the time it comes out.
True.
Yeah, you can do a role-playing game about, weird political wizards who are secretly behind the scenes and make the Mittenmancer a thing. You can put it as an Easter egg or an element of, if you're doing a modern age game where grumpy guys in coats from Vermont and riding the train to work, even if you're the president, are the ways that you manipulate social energy or dramaturgy. That maybe you can do, but you've got to really look at what's going to hit and what's going to miss.
Quick question. So are you just pulling this out of the adventure hole?
Oh yeah.
See, this is literally why people pay top dollar to come and listen to Owen KC Stephens on ThursdAGE, because the Mittenmancer, slogging on the commute into work with against other varying degrees of Mittenman, that's some brilliance. Copyright 4/22/2021 at 2:22 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Green Ronin.
422.
4:22. Yeah, but also Pacific is 2:22. That's was incredible. You literally just rattled that off like it's been burning a hole in your head. Brian says, so far, all I'm getting is that Owen is working on a modern age campaign about mittens, chocolate, and imported cocaine. You literally have summed it up. You're like a little Cliff's Notes.
If someone released that on the Age Creators Alliance, I'm not saying it would be a hit, but I'm not saying it's a bad idea either.
Right. No, I think it's a hit in the making for sure. The iron still feels quite hot on that one. Alex says, wait a minute, you all are paying? Where do I forward my credit card information? Send your credit card information to me, but I need to dramaturgy. Exactly. Jonesy says dramaturgy. That has a bad mouth feel, but a fun sort of suggestion of what that could potentially be. So Alex, and anyone listening, send your credit card to letsplay at greenronin.com. Do the front side, the back side in a scan.
Anything that seems odd or quirky or that you don't have an explanation for is rife to be the launching pad for a story or a plot line or a background, right? You can watch a comedian who's doing modern observational comedy, and anything they say, hey, isn't it weird that, you can then come up with some supernatural reason for, right? So like there's one group of occultists for whom 8 is the ultimate number, and there's a different group of occultists for whom 10 is the ultimate number, and one of them control hot dog bun production and the other one controls hot dog production, and that's why they don't mash up. So that is that you just make that the background, a little tiny visual perk of a vast thaumaturgical war on which number will reign supreme, and it becomes the weird little quirks of the real world are just the tip of the iceberg, and you build the most ridiculous conspiracy stuff under it. And a lot of players just love that. They adore it when we walk into town and there's a copper piece that's in a little tiny pot, just a little tiny crock, and it's got a leprechaun next to it, and people are like, well, what's with that? Well, that's his copper piece and his pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Someone stole it, but he's keeping it, so you can have the money, but the leprechaun's going with it. And he's loud at night, and he gets drunk and boisterous, and people prefer not to take that piece as change. You can take anything and just spin a yarn out of it and turn it into the background that spackles over the cracks where a game can't be as detailed as reality. I was reading a thing Elizabeth Moon wrote a long time ago about one of the ways to make fiction seem real is to create random little details. In her case, she was talking about the fact that she'd written a story. Elizabeth Moon's a science fiction fantasy writer, by the way, one of my favorites. Deeds of Paxnarian is formative for me on how I think about paladins. But she said that in the story she wrote, she made a specific comment that cows do not adjust well to 0G, but goats do fine, and as a result, most space farms had goats instead of cows. There is no scientific basis for that detail, but creating a quirky little detail that doesn't directly impact the plot makes things seem more real, because in everyday life, we keep running into things that are there, that are true, that we can touch and interact with, that we don't know the basis for. Why is this thing the way it is? Why is KFOR in Norman, Oklahoma supposed to be channel 4, but on the cable it's not channel 4? What's the disconnect there? And you can go into UHF and VHF and the rise of cable, etc., or you can make it a conspiracy about leprechauns at war with shape-changing geese.
A quick question. So are we saying leprechaun or leprechaun?
I'm saying leprechaun because there really are lepers, and I would never want to
that is
minimize their suffering.
That is a very good point, and I appreciate that. Alex Thomas says, I'm making mittens of muffin archery for Fantasy Age now, and you will hear from our attorney. They're a leprechaun. They will be bringing one copper coin, and they'll just bug the shit out of you.
And a tiny little crock.
Exactly. And they're very litigious. Terry,
and you say in that society, that's the origin of the phrase, what a crock.
Are you literally making this up?
Yes.
Honestly, I can't believe
Making
that you are
stuff
so
up is
good.
what I do, Troy.
You do it so well and so
my-
fun. You use your powers for good. It is why you're a joy to behold.
My mother tells me that before I could talk, I would sit and have two little fingers and go. I couldn't come up with words, and I was telling myself stories.
I love it. That
is my major malfunction.
We did this. I think that was an early reveal in in our first season. Owen's finger babies, I think, is what we called it. Why does that seem so upsetting? Speaking of upsetting, Jonesy's yelling at me in chat, and I think it's because I was soliciting credit cards. I'm not sure, but Jonesy, thank you for being my conscience. Let's see. Terry says this: in my hometown, the same company controlled the ambulances and the funeral homes. Scary. I moved.
Right?
Yeah.
When I moved to Evansville, Indiana for a year, I discovered it was the last place in the United States where you could commercially buy a brain sandwich. So I started referring to the place I was living at the time as home of the brain eaters. That's rooted firmly in reality, and yet this normal little fact that you can trace the culinary route of how it used to be cow brains, now it's pig brains because they outlawed cow brain sandwiches during the hoof and mouth scare, and it wasn't enough of a cultural hook other places to make the shift over. But on the other hand, there's literally a city where in the October festival you can buy a brain sandwich. Imagine to yourself, well, clearly the barber, that town had in more than one place in the same building a barber shop and a tarot reader or psychic. So
in the same place.
Yeah, same building. More than one case. The same building had those two kinds of business in it. And you're like, well, okay, so clearly the bloodletting barbers and the oracular tarots and psychics are at war with the brain-eating corporate zombies. That's what's going on.
Clearly, and you're just now blowing the mind of Rain, who lives in Bloomington and said like an hour away, how did I not know about the sandwich? Yeah, now that you know.
Yeah, during the October festival, it's available on the street.
Yep. Now, are they like, what do you think about the sandwich? Do you think it looks good? Is it?
I fully and truly intended to eat a sandwich, but I also intended to live in Evansville for more than a year, and I didn't. And for half of that, COVID. So as much as I could have screwed up my courage the October before COVID and gone and bought a brain sandwich.
Screwed up your digestive system.
But I mean, it kind of looks like a chicken fried steak sandwich, right? It's a breaded, deep fried pig brain. It's meat. My wife was vegan at the time, which makes it difficult to justify going and eating
that is egregious.
We can't watch Babe, one of our favorite movies, and then go eat a fried pig brain.
Right? Yeah.
So I don't know what it tastes like, but and one hopes that when you say what does the sandwich think, it's not thinking. Once you've breaded and deep fried the brain, usually it's not thinking anything.
It's thinking, I look delicious.
I just don't know.
I will tell you this, Owen. In thinking about a deep fried brain sandwich, it kind of puts me off my feed. But that's okay. I mean, a question for you, something that I can't quite stop thinking about, and moments where I find I'm able to focus. It is, breaks through the many sparklered sort of thing that goes on in my brain on a minute-to-minute basis. Space goats.
Space goats.
I'm a fan of space goats. Now, my question is, are they there in space pajamas, perhaps?
No, you do not put goats in pajamas for fear of luring too many people to be near the goats, which will stress them out, because goats in pajamas are adorable.
They are very adorable. And in space, you could get a goat kicked to the face if they're...
I mean, see, and that's another thing where you get to decide about the tone of your campaign, right? Are they just goats in space, or are you going to say, hey, it's been 40,000 years and space goats are now spheres with little horns that just float through zero G? Meh.
I love it.
They have a tether and go so far. You just dump grass into and they have to nibble it as it goes by.
Brian
you
says
can make these things more or less serious.
Brian's
based on the tone you're going for.
It gets pretty serious. Brian says, but the space goats probably do have magnetic mittens, and of course, yeah. Fun fact: if a goat kicks you in space, you fly away forever. says Alex.
Well, and the goat flies the other direction.
You know, I would name my spaceship Totes My Goats.
I'm sure you would.
Because it totes my goats around space.
It's right up there with Spacey McSpaceship.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. This is amazing. A caveat, Alex says, or at least until you enter a different gravity well. I like it.
Yes.
We've talked a bit about Jacob Blackmon, a dear friend, artist, friend of the program, someone that works with you over on the Rouge de Genius.
Jacob does a lot. I mean, he does a lot of work for a lot of people, but he has a lot of products up through Rogue Genius Games, a lot of stock art. You can look us up. You can go to roguegeniusgames.com, but you're more likely to find us on Drive-Thru under Rogue Genius Games.
Nice.
He does a lot of Mutants and Masterminds stuff, for example.
That is phenomenal. I do see our first merch item. It is going to be called the Goat Tote. And something spacey. Maybe we do like a sort of a shiny material, because in space you need that kind of material to be taken seriously.
I cannot believe that there won't be someone that has beaten us to having a tote that says on it, "My goat."
You know, I'm certain that is the case, but, we're doing our own thing here. Do you think that somebody has copywritten, they have their trademarks on the goat tote?
We can do a trademark search.
We should do that, because I want to call them and just say, how very dare you? Goats are for everyone. Goats are meant for everyone. Okay, so we have got some planning that we have done, and it is, as Alex so mathematically shared, it's 12% of the plan, which, is, when you consider what it was before, that's at least 1,000% more than what we had. And
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say a request. Can I request that the goat tote be the same print as arcade carpeting? Oh, kind of like an 80s sort of thing? Or
So, yeah, we have every time I think I've gone herring off on a tangent, Troy's trying to pull me back in.
I'm really trying to flap you.
So we've got some stuff we're looking at doing. There's going to be a Fantasy Age product that our own Malcolm, our Modern Age developer, worked on, that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks.
But we're not
prior to
that's a secret.
Core rulebook coming out. So we hope to have him on to talk about that.
Yeah.
And I would like to have maybe have him come on and talk about some Modern Age stuff, because he knows the Modern Age stuff really, really well. And it's a really exciting system. And, despite having lizard folks and dragons and evil bugbear wizard towers as the surround here, this is ThursdAGE, not Thirst Fantasy Age. So I would love to have some more Age people on here now that we're a little established, and have them talk to us about stuff. We also hope to be doing some stuff with the Age Creators Alliance when it comes out. And we've got a number of different things that we're sort of looking at and aiming for that aren't drilled down yet. Does that sound like an accurate description, Troy?
Yeah. I think we can give some broad sort of, one of the things that people do know about us is that we love a fan, and we love a contributor, and we support and elevate and coordinate and collaborate with a lot of different people. The Age Creators Alliance is a facet of that, but we intend on having some guests.
Yeah, I would like to. Well, we can't say for sure who yet, because until it's up, it ain't up. But I would love to have some Age Creator Alliance creators on the show and talk to them. I also kind of want to, at least for a while, be popping that thing open and talking about where you can find it and what products are on it and what strikes me as interesting. Maybe do a rundown of the top 10 products for any given week. And use some of our platform to point at these people who are putting their time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears into the sandbox we're setting up.
Absolutely. And also, anybody that creates a product design for the goat tote will come to the head of the line, even if you didn't do anything for the TTRPG
So
Alliance.
here's Jacob Blackman literally writing in the chat, please don't have me draw space goats. And now you're trying to lure him on the show by telling him if he makes a design for space
I
goats.
do believe he said, please ask me to do this, I think.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't have me draw.
No, it says, please have me draw. I won't is like, sort of a regional colloquial sort of saying for I want to do that.
It's
I'm on it.
Bad means good. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, no, I mean it's pleased. Don't have me draw space goats.
Don't have me. All right, got it.
Yes, so that is very true. All shenanigans aside, we love that, and we're excited to kind of have that opportunity to showcase people and their good works. I'm stumbling primarily because I'm actually, as you yawn, because I'm so entertaining. If I have a tell, if you hear me kind of maybe stutter a bit, or I slow down, or I try to search for a word, it's because I'm trying to be diplomatic, or I'm trying to keep a secret. So you know that I'm lying about it, or I am hiding something. So just so you are aware, the question I was going to ask is, there are other aspects we haven't quite revealed yet, but one of them involves the Age Creators Alliance. I don't want to say anything more than that, but experiencing the process and such. Do we want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. That's something that will have to happen in spare time, and I have so much spare time, obviously. But one of the things I am looking at doing when I can find the spare time is putting together an Age Creators Alliance product myself. Now, that's not going to be ready for launch. Fine, there are people that have been working on this long and hard, and they deserve to have that spotlight ahead of time. And I'm not even sure what it's going to be yet, but I would like to go through the process using just my own resources. I've applied, I sent the email to Troy like you're supposed to. I did the survey. I'm on the Discord chat, specifically so that I will have been through that process, so I understand it, so that I've actually gone through those steps, amongst other things. So if I have feedback for the process, I'll be able to bring that directly to Green Ronin, likely through Troy. I write to Let's Play at Green Ronin too, folks. It's a great way to get community interaction, questions and comments and feedback to Troy, and therefore to the company.
Yeah.
But also so that I'll be able to talk about that process, right? If there's something that I find confusing, or if there's something that was more difficult than I expected, I'll actually have, once I am done, found a map and put together an adventure, and I will be vulnerable to feedback, because I'm not going to have all of the massive upsides of having other Green Ronin people to bounce ideas off of and edit things and do masterful layout. This is really going to be a pocket project of mine to see what that process looks like and to see what the end result looks like, and then to be able to discuss that, not just from a, hey, I can look at each step, but as someone who has gone through those steps. And I'm probably going to start with something super small, just to get it out there and see what it's like. And I'm both excited and I'm really trepidatious, because if I, the lead developer for Fantasy Age, put out a Age Creators Alliance product and it's terrible, that is not a good look for me. And if it's great, people will just say, well, of course, his is great. He's a professional at this, even though I am not, for instance, a professional layout person or a professional editor. But I want to sort of go back to the root of that process and see how it all works and what it feels like and what the end result comes out to.
So it's interesting you bring it up, because I too am working on an Age Creators Alliance bit of work. It's called The Goats of Trepidation Pass. And I won't say more than that because I don't want to spoil it, but...
For 1 solid second, I thought you were serious.
I'll take it. All right, well, that actually is going to be a lot of fun. And one of the things I appreciate about, as we're moving the Age Creators Alliance through its process, we are I want to say we're right there. It's happening now. It's happening. The excitement is palpable, as you can see. No, I know.
Never take my yawning on screen as a sign that anyone's boring. I'm an insomniac, and there is no way for anyone to know how much sleep I have or haven't gotten or how long ago anytime I'm on air.
You know what's so interesting? My yawning occurs right at this time of clock. I get waylaid by it. It's just every day at this time I just hit a wall. I don't know what it is, but I get sort of energized, and I'm just giving you the business. Jacob Blackman says, Owen, I think sorcerers and speakeasies could be a good age setting. Huh.
It could. That's something that I have played with and done a little short fiction for on my blog, OwenKCStephens.com, which I had originally envisioned as a 5e setting. But again, all of those projects are things I do in what is laughingly referred to as my spare time.
Right.
And I've got projects like 52 and 52 that are, let's say 8 months behind schedule right now, maybe 9 or 10 months behind schedule. And those are that's a subscription service that people paid for, and they will get everything they paid for, but that's sort of a higher priority than taking my fun projects for personal use and getting them put out. So I'll get to it. I'll get to all those things. The question of what I do which and with whom and why and how is yet to be settled.
You know, one of the things, a sort of universal trait that I have discovered both with Ronins and projects adjacent is every commitment or notion or idea that is made, even if it's sort of lightheartedly engaged in, that it becomes this sort of incubator, and that it, you know, I guess it's sort of to say like a Ronin always pays their debts. I mean, it's truthfully like it just keep on keeping on no matter what pandemic, law enforcement seizing shipments of, all of the cocaines. I love it. It's a tenacity, but it also is just such a commitment to the consumer.
I can't help but think that if there was actually a Green Ronin banner and for the motto, it would probably be "Give us the cheese."
Oh, yes, it would be. That's right. A Ronin always eats their cheese, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Terry says, in my 1920 Mage campaign, I'll be using the powers with fatigue rules instead of the point system. Can't wait to see how it plays at the table. You want to talk a bit about what that means?
So there are different spell systems that you can use for age magic in general, and one of them is the magic points, which is the baseline in Fantasy Age, where you get a certain number of magic points, and the way it currently rules, you have a test to see whether or not you can successfully cast a spell, and whether you succeed or fail, those magic points are gone. We're actually going to be revising that for the core rulebook so that you will make your test, and if you succeed, you spend your magic points and the spell is cast. And if you fail, you will have the choice of either only losing half the magic points because you didn't actually finish the spell, or pay the full cost plus the difference between what you needed to roll and what you actually rolled in additional magic points, which can get super expensive if you fail badly, and then go ahead and get the spell off. And then you'll still have to make the attack roll, or the enemy will have a resistance test or whatever. But there are different magic rules in different places that, for example, instead of having straight magic points every time you're casting a spell, you're making a check to see whether it is tiring you out, which makes it less I can do this spell exactly 7 times between now and next morning, and more this is getting a little harder and I'm fatigued and everything else is becoming more difficult. And it can have a feel closer to how some narrative stories tackle magic. So I'm a fan of it, but I also just like the general, the magic point system, as opposed to say a Vancian spell preparation slot system where I've prepared 2 spells and once I've cast them, they're gone. Because I also feel like it feels more like most narrative magic, where someone can do X amount of magic and it really doesn't matter if they're doing one big thing or 14 little things. It's still 14 arcana volts of magic, whatever you want to think of as the actual in-world magical term.
So Jonesy asks, sort of like mana burn?
Yeah, sort of like.
I love it. Also, have I been pronouncing the name of our show wrong this entire time? I just realized. Are we ThursdAGE?
No, we are ThursdAGE.
Okay, good. Just checking, because I was thinking of Cheeseage, and I'm in for that. Like, bring me some Cheeseage.
That would be a different show.
It would
still be Ronins. But
it would be a different show, and it would be, I don't know that I would ever want to tune into to listen to or see someone eat, unless it was about cheese, I think.
Well, the problem about watching someone eat is that there might be little crumbs over the place, and no one wants to look at little bits of debris.
No, yeah, no one wants to hear the sound of people eating. I don't, anyway. So I'm going to open it up for questions.
It's not good entertainment.
Yeah, no, exactly. Not at all. Open it up for some questions. Now, you do know that we sent out a little challenge onto the world. Today, I don't know what happened. We broke out in puns. It was, it started.
As our self-control slipped.
Well, we didn't start it. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world was turning. Duke Igthor says, crumblage. Yeah, nobody wants crumblage. But tell me, Owen, do you have a go-to, a favorite sort of, do you have like maybe like a recipe for punnery?
A recipe for what?
Punning.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a recipe for punnery. I think there is just something wrong with my brain that puns float to the top just instinctively. And again, here's a story about my childhood. My family was a pun-heavy family. And my family was a very erudite family with large vocabularies. And as a result, when I was very young, my parents would give a pun and I wouldn't get why it was funny. And so I would try to emulate them, but I would just throw random words together rather than puns. And sometimes they would laugh because it was ridiculous, but they would also sort of sadly shake their heads. No, honey, that's not how any of this works. So I was pushed to master the concept of the pun so I could keep up at the dining table, right? So frequently puns just leap into my head, and they won't leave me alone until I offer them up onto others. It's sort of like the tape from The Ring. The only way for me to not be cursed by puns is to give other people the puns, and then they've been cursed by the puns, and I'm free.
I see. Only difference is you still carry then the drive, the your precious puns still remain. Like you don't really.
Yeah, well, it's like having an imbalance of humors to make a pun, right? I have an imbalance of humors, and my pun ichor is too high, and it must occasionally be bloodlet by telling people
grody
things like an imbalance of humors.
Yes, I love that. I think that is a beautiful turn of phrase and a very evocative one as well that I do believe that someone should draw. Alex says the only way to survive is to pass on your punishment. Nice entry. Yep. Alex scores high with what I'll consider the first entry of this particular. There's only 10 minutes of the show left. How could that be? I know we started a little late, so we may bleed over. A tad, our humors may run over.
We have not stuck tightly on topic. That's how the time got eaten up.
Do we ever? And also, this is a GD delight, mon frere.
When we had Meredith on, we were very focused on topic.
You know why? Because Meredith.
We were having to show off for her.
That's right. We were on our best behavior. Oh, well, no, I was watching. You were on your best behavior. I was not.
Actually, Troy, I think that was, in fact, your best behavior. That
doesn't
mean it's good objectively, but
truth
it really seems to be trying.
What I say, aim for the middle.
Well, that's what they taught me when I took firearm training. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Alex right now is the only one winning, and, it is...
Or losing.
Or, I think we all lose, but Alex wins. And
if he's the only entry, he'll come in last.
That is true. I love this. I love this sort of magical pessimism that we've got. Alex says, under promise so you can overachieve. That's right. That's exactly right. Yes, that is my motto. Yes. So, I'm trying to think of, like, I'm not a real pun person. I just don't, I just don't like them. I mean, I don't hate them, but, like I run into a friend who was like a pun. They went to like the pun, world pun Olympics or something in Vegas, where you actually have like a pun off and you pun each other to death, and the last
competition.
Yes, that's exactly true. That's exactly right. And like he won some kind of World Cup, and I was not super impressed. Jer says, "Where Sam when you need a drawing of an elven muffin bow?" You know, I do. We lean so heavily on our friends, artists, and I do want to say to those who are artists, you know, we are not like your best buddies who, like, you're a massage therapist. We're like, hey, on my back, and you know, that's not what's happening here. So you art if you want to art, but I also want to encourage people who are not artists to art it up. Like, get in there, do some stuff. Doesn't stop me. I'm not an artist, but it doesn't stop me.
We are delighted if we inspire creativity from our art-inclined friends. We appreciate it. We certainly don't expect it.
Not at all. Yeah, absolutely. Unless we ask for it, and then we really need it. But that's a joke. But I do want to.
I mean, we do have a super secret way to get artists to draw what we want, and it's called paying them. I have also found that. So I have a number of people who consult with me on game products, and one of them, a couple of years ago now at this thing, was looking to have a professional writer write a piece of short fiction for their introduction, and they'd figured out what a reasonable rate was and what a reasonable time frame was, and they were really nervous about asking this writer to write this introduction. And I'm like, no, wait, hold on. You know how to contact them. You're aware of what their professional contact is. You have a budget to meet their rate. You have a reasonable time frame. So what you want to do is pay this person to do what they love to do for a living.
Right.
I don't understand why you're nervous. They might say no. You might not be free, but they might not be available. They might not like to get it, but don't be nervous.
Right.
If you're trying to pay a professional freelancer to do the thing that they freelance for, and you've done your homework, you're aware of what's going right for them. You're aware of how that, you know, if it's someone that only takes inquiries through an agent, great, find out who the agent is. But if you know, yes, they take contact through this way and they do the job, do it. And so the person who's consulting with me offered the writer the job, and they were like, oh yeah, no, that sounds like a reasonable time frame and a reasonable amount of money and a project I'd be interested in. And they wrote the fiction for the forward, because
that's fantastic.
Ultimately, all of us who are freelancers in creative fields, what we want, whether it's full-time or part-time or a hobby and we lose money on it, what we want is to feel like our creative efforts are valued.
Absolutely.
And there's no way to show that you value someone's creative efforts better than giving them money for it.
You know, I was going to say, let us be as loud about offering recompense for talent as we are about asking for it for free. Because it just cracks me up when people, I see this stuff happen. You know, it happens on Twitter. It happens, you know, friends who are, or they're adjacent to the creative arts, and they're like, hey, can somebody just draw me a thing? Or they reach out to a friend and they're like, you know, it can be for your portfolio. Or it's like, that's not what people need. They don't need that kind of thing. What they need is money. I love this. Money is always a valid cheat code, it seems, says Duke, and Duke, you are correct. Alex Thomas says, every time someone pays me to do writing as a day, I don't have to go to the tooth mine for my day job. Wow, what the tooth mine? That just sounds nasty. That's a nasty job. People start paying this man. Pay Alex money because he's trying to pay for stuff with teeth that he's mining. That's just so grody. All this is to say, a friend Jared, we're not calling you out, my friend, 100%. Like, it is, and also we have established that there are artists, and maybe you bring this up, and then out comes a elven muffin bow. So no shame on you for asking. And Alex Thomas says, as nasty as you're imagining, it's worse. Well, nothing is better for a we're kind of podcast adjacent, I would say, a live stream than really nasty subject like the tooth mine.
There are people that have content warning issue with teeth, so let's get off that.
That is true. That is true. So let us get on this subject, which is, hey Owen. Hey Owen, I say.
Yes, Troy.
Stat this. Are you able to see?
Just a minute. I do not yet see. Oh.
Before you start, I'm gonna say I have no shame. I made this. I love it. I haven't named it, but it is something. I want to check real quick. Give me the high sign in chat if you are able to hear. You may not be, because I'm kind of a master at this stuff.
I hear weird music in the background, I'll tell you that now. Yeah, I do. So I'm looking at that, right? And I got to be honest with you, what that looks to me like is a seasick sea monster. So if a goofy as heck seasick sea monster with big bulging eyes, obviously. So if I was going to stat that, I would immediately be looking for pretty big aquatic creatures to borrow stats for, because that is not something I'm going to put the time and effort in to stat absolutely from scratch. So I am immediately looking in the Fantasy Age Bestiary, for those of you who want to follow along at home. On page 132, we have the giant squid, which has accuracy for a bite and a big constitution, and swimming as a focus, and dexterity and stealth as a focus. And if you're going to be a Nessie-like creature, stealth as a focus makes sense. It's got a bite and it has a tentacle attack, but I can swap that out for a tail slap just fine. But the other thing is that if I'm saying that is a seasick sea monster, then it might have a, let's say, Technicolor yawn attack. And I could easily take the ink cloud of a squid and which blinds all within it, making them unable to see clearly until it dissipates. But I could also add to that you have to make a necessary constitution check. I'd look up and see what focus I would want to give it. Or perhaps you are also nauseated and like lose one action around so that you can take a move action or a standard action, but not both. And then just get rid of the tentacle grab stunt and get rid of the tough, so that the fact that I've made this ink cloud more dangerous still keeps the entire major threat at the same level. So that is how I would stat up the sea-sick monster, which I might, like call an oil slicker. Well, it can have a bite attack without having teeth. It can gum you to heck. Or maybe the front of that just looks like a little pucker and it's going to split 4 ways and open up and reveal 24 rows of teeth. Yes, it is the lock-stressed monster. That is perfect. Brain sandwich. I feel no urge whatsoever to hug that thing. I'm telling you now. Well, I keep trying to tell people I'm not the the sweet, lovable guy I've successfully pulled the wool over everyone's eyes to make them think I am. Oh, only generally speaking unflappable.
Hope that there's a way, and where there's a will, there is a way. Alex, you can probably hear me now, right? And I hope you can hear me now. But my question unto you is it like, I get the sense that when I am bothering you, that if I catch you a little off guard, it almost seems like you get better at it.
So I have a theory about myself that started developing in 2001, which is that my self-censor, my built-in back brain that says that's a dumb idea, or that's going too far, or no one will like that, is my own worst enemy. And I will tell you where this theory originally came from. When I left Wizards of the Coast, I was not allowed to work for RPG R&D for, I think, 6 months, because they did not want to get caught up in being accused of hiring people in order to hire them as do the same job as contract workers.
Non-compete kind of stuff, yeah.
However, I could work for the web team, even if it was doing RPG R&D development.
Okay.
So several wonderful people in the web team knew that I was trying to launch a full-time freelance career to make up for the fact that I got laid off, so they hired me to do some monsters and some adventures. And usually they would say, hey, can you, in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, have an adventure of this size or 4 issues? But every once in a while, someone else that they were working on would fall through, and so they would come to me and say, look, I understand if you can't do it, but are you free to write up a 5,000-word adventure by tomorrow? And because I was trying to start things up, and because I was younger and stupid, and I needed the money, I would always say yes. So I did several adventures for the Wizards of the Coast website, and without exception, the ones that I wrote in an emergency in 24 hours with no time to think about whether they made any sense, or if they were good ideas, or if they were too funny or too stupid or too repetitive, those were always the ones that got the most positive feedback. Most of the adventures that I carefully plotted out and I ran past people and I did multiple drafts of, those were fine, but I don't still hear about them. But now 20 years later, I still sometimes hear about adventuring teams tackling a 3.0 adventure I wrote with a Rakshasa who had a secret den, and you find out about it because she's intercepting luxury goods in a nearby caravan route, so her lair is nice, right? That is literally the background. She's stealing stuff from caravans because she wants higher-end upholstery. And she uses her magic and illusion to pretend that she is actually an innocent gnome amongst a bunch of other charmed gnomes, and that the place is run by a vampire. So people stack up ready to deal with an undead, and then she fireballs them in the back because she's a shape-shifting illusion using Rakshasa, who has protection versus arrows, and the only way to kill her is with a magical crossbow bolt. I still, every 6 months or so, get someone writing to me talking about how much they love this adventure, and they've adapted it. I've been told it's been adapted for M&M and Pathfinder and 5e and 4e even. I wrote that thing in like 16 hours because all I had was a map and a CR, and I just threw stuff at roughly the same level and came up with any excuse I could to link them together. So between that and the fact that when I say things like, hey, it's a campaign setting where centaur bunnies are fighting against were-rat rail barons who are trying to cross their lands with steam engines, and people like that, I feel like it's because I have not given myself the luxury of shutting down my own intriguing ideas. Whereas the more time I have to think about something, the more likely I am to drain all the spark out of it.
Very interesting. I think that one of the things that I've noted in our, I think we have done, this is our 3,000th episode, I believe. by my count.
To the nearest 3,000. Yeah.
I might be rounding up a little, but that's math. When you're talking about these moments and these creative moments and sort of what dictates how things run and how things kind of, one of the things that is interesting about the dialogue is that it's not something that is, you're speaking to sort of this creative spirit that everybody carries around with them, and you encourage it, and maybe there's a different shift or a different sort of take on things. But it's one of the things I really enjoy about this. We can goof off and we can have some fun and talk about, I can have you stat, the Nessie, the stressed out Loch Ness tube, and but
the stress monster.
Yes, exactly. But we have, the things that we discuss are universal kind of moments for people. And thank you, Alex, so much. Thank you, everybody, for checking out what we're doing here. We do have a lot of fun. And, Owen, appreciate you, my friend. It is always a pleasure to hang out with you. I'm excited for what we've got planned. We've got some surprises in the pipeline that will be developed. We've got some... there's a contest where someone may win a space goat. That's something that I'm very passionate about. I believe
you have to say it, space goat.
Space goat, and also
it's like space ghost, but you say goat instead.
Yeah, space goat, goat to goat, right?
Right.
Yep. So with that, I do want to say that I have been furiously working on a goat in space, but unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you, our friend Jer. I'm thinking it's Jer. It could be Gare, but Rain. I want to say, 3,000 weeks. 2021 has really been as long as it felt it was. Well, we did start this in 2020, and that was.
So, quick before we go,
yes.
Since we were specifically talking about hammering the theme of paying the creatives, I want to call out that our friend Stan, that has done so much of the amazing cartoon work, much of which we use in our opening sequence, has launched a Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/Stanex, STANNEX, which has all sorts of fun membership levels, including voting rights and Stanex reviews. And you can be a standard bearer if you get in now and get a sticker for it. Our friend Jacob Blackman, who's just watching and begging us not to make him draw space goats, also has a Patreon. You can find him at patreon.com/Jacob Blackman. There are two B's in the middle there.
Oh, that was a real Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
JACOBBLACKMON. And of course, if you want me to continue to blather on in formats other than this, because I will blather on here at ThursdAGE as long as Green Ronin wants me. But if you want to see me more on social media, even I have a Patreon at patreon.com/Owen KC Stephens.
And I don't have a Patreon, but I have an OnlyFans, and I'm kidding, I don't. I don't even know. Is OnlyFans like exclusively inappropriate naughty thing?
So it allows levels of naughtiness, but no, it's absolutely not exclusive to that. I suspect those are their most successful content creators, but I know that there are people that do age-appropriate OnlyFans, and I joked about doing an OnlyFans that would just be pictures on the top of my head as I was working on things. So,
well, there you go.
Just as long as you are a good actor and are working within the rules and being honest about what you're delivering,
you had me until
launch an OnlyFans, see what you get.
You had me until honest. I mean, I am generally speaking an honest person, but I am a diplomat, and you know what they say: diplomacy is duplicity. Do they say that?
I've never heard that.
I just feel like I kind of made it up. And maybe I didn't, or maybe I did. You'll never know.
I have heard diplomacy is war without the bullets.
Well, you know what? I think on that note, we will, we'll close up, but I do want to share a beautiful thing that I just made. I just finished it while we were talking. And what's amazing is I finished it while we were talking, and still was just entertaining as heck. Can you see it?
I cannot yet see it. I'll be able to see it in a second. Sure, there's a lag.
Yeah. It's our dump button in case we say something bad. But
there it is. I see it.
There it is.
I see the space goat.
Space goat totes.
That's actually really good for the amount of time you've had to work on it, Troy.
It's hand drawn. I drew that myself, but
I'll wrap around a mug so nicely.
Yes, that would it totes would. My friend, I'm going to release you onto the day. I want to thank you so much for hanging out. We'll be back next Thursday, and we've already got the show planned, and you're going to just, you know what? Open up a dictionary. The first adjective that you find, that's what you're going to do. You're going to be so excited that you will adjective, and it will be, delightful or frightful. Do write in to Owen write in let's play at greenronin.com. Tell us what your adjective is. Do we have anything that we wanted to share about the next show? I was trying to remember if there was something.
No, let's get
we'll
to
save
the next
that.
show and we'll surprise people. I actually haven't been working this.
Well, you know what? We're going to surprise people by saying it's 3:13. We've given you 13 extra minutes. I mean, I know maybe we're a little late, but neither here nor there. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us. We adore you. We have a lot of fun doing this. We definitely want to hear from you. Send us a note. Let us know what you're thinking. And then come back Monday for Mutants Masterminds Monday, 2 p.m. Pacific. Right here in the same place that you're watching. That'll be Crystal Frasier, Steve Kenson, and the disembodied me. And maybe we'll have a guest, or who knows. But it'll be incredible nonetheless. Thank you, folks. Owen, have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Troy.
Bye,
folks.
everyone.